Hello everyone, I am Ral Zarek. Some people call me a rain mage, but I think they just lack imagination. Besides, I can manipulate something much more powerful than rain at my fingertips. I'm a high-ranking member of the Izzet League, a guild of mad geniuses. But let's stick to the second half of that description, shall we? So anyways, with that aside, I am String and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to play as Ral Zarek in Dungeons & Dragons. For my main build, all you will need is the player's handbook, none of this Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica stuff, but if you do have Xanathar's Guide to Everything, there's an alternate build that you guys can play as well that I think is probably going to be a little bit more viable, like stat-wise. But the build that I have really is meant to most closely mimic Ral Zarek's Magic the Gathering character in a Dungeons & Dragons setting. So to preface this video, I really enjoy mixing gaming universes and seeing if I can really play one character in another's universe, and if I can do that, how fun and accurate is it? So I personally have done that today by making Ral Zarek a playable character in just a standard D&D campaign setting, and I think I did it pretty closely mimicked and pretty fun and pretty accurate. So I will begin this video with actually the backstory, because there are 3 character sheets. As you guys can see, there's the Ral Zarek base, the Ral Zarek variant, and the Ral Zarek war magic. But they all share actually one common backstory that I have sort of left ambiguous enough, with enough wiggle room so that you can fit it into any D&D campaign setting. It doesn't have to be, the Ravnican one or a fantasy one. You can really fit it into as much as possible. But without any further ado, let's just get into the backstory. So, Ral begins his life unaware of his full potential. He was born to a family of poor laborers in a small town, his mother doing whatever she could to support her son and her lazy drunk of a husband. She worked locally, helping at the lumber mill, waiting at restaurants, cleaning the tavern, and pretty much doing any decent work she could to support her family. Eventually, Ral began to help his mother, doing whatever he could to support his family. For a young boy, that usually meant carrying things, delivering messages, or scavenging out in the forest to find anything useful that he could. They lived this way together until Ral was in his early teens, when his mother suffered a deadly accident at work. Upon learning about her death, Ral felt not only major emotion inside of him, but a major power surge. He began to cry, letting not only his emotions through, but the power through as well. This power began to take shape as a rainstorm. Eventually, after another year of it just being him and his father, Ral realized that he could not support both him and his father, so he left his drunkard father and his home to figure out life on his own, and learn more about his newfound power that he experienced last year. He traveled far, doing whatever work he could to support his travels. While traveling, he learned to hunt. He wasn't a master hunter, but he was able to make do with a small dagger, some rocks, and even a walking stick if he was lucky enough to find one that was sturdy and able to last more than just one day. In the fall of his 16th year, Ral happened upon a large, bustling city. Ral encountered a building that alone could fit his entire birth town in it. He dashed past the city gate, exploring as much as he could. In a town as large as this, who knew what Ral could uncover? He immediately began looking for work and lodgings. He began life here much the same as his mother actually did back home, doing whatever local odd jobs he could to have a room at the inn and some food on the table. At some point, Ral befriended another man by the name of Reed, a sort of bard, just without the magic. With both of their incomes, Reed and Ral were able to afford their own apartment and began a loving relationship together. They lived comfortably for another 2 years. However, once Ral was in his 18th year, things were about to change. One night, on their walk home after a particularly nice dinner date, Ral and Reed were attacked. The attacker wore a mask with a very distinct image. There were 2 sickle-shaped horns sprouting from each end of a smirking dragon's face. Neither Ral nor Reed were experienced fighters, so after quickly immobilizing and disarming Ral, the attacker ran up and sliced a crimson smile into Reed's neck. Ral felt that same sort of power emerging from within him as when his mother died, but this time he felt not only sadness but anger. Yes, the anger. The power this time manifested itself as a storm, but not just any old rainstorm. A thunderstorm appeared out of nowhere overhead, and one single solitary lightning bolt struck the ground right at the masked attacker, who then fell to the floor, dropping his weapon. After this extreme use of power, Ral fell unconscious. When he awoke in a bed that was not quite familiar to him. It was not his apartment, but rather a lodging area with quite a few many beds. He sat up in bed to be greeted by the man sitting next to him. The man introduced himself as Niv, guildmaster of the Izzet League. They were a group of inventors, he introduced. Wizards of sorts, but also smiths, alchemists, and in general, pursuers of all knowledge. Niv witnessed Ral's display of power and told him that if he were to join the Izzet, he would not only make a pretty penny to support himself, but also learn to control his power. And through this control of his power, he would be able to take revenge on that attacker and his master. Ral agrees and stays with the Izzet League for years, learning their ways and quickly climbing through the ranks. It is here that he learns to truly uncover his power as a wizard. And it is also here from where you guys will decide how Ral's journey continues. So now with that, we can go ahead and get into the actual D&D character sheet build part of this video. So if we go ahead and look here at the top, the character's name is Ral Zarek. It's not Ral Zarek base. That should be relatively obvious. So he is a wizard class. His background will be a guild artisan. His race is a human. His alignment will be neutral good. I'm sorry, I did not write it in there. And then let's get into the next most important thing, in my opinion, which is the stat block. So if we look to the left side and look at the stat blocks, these are actually arranged in order of importance. So you want to place your primary, highest stat in intelligence, and then you want to arrange your priorities from there down to dexterity second, charisma third, strength fourth, constitution fifth, and wisdom sixth. So this stat block will not only help you with viability, but also to closely mimic Ral Zarek's character. Because Ral Zarek is, if we go ahead and look to the top right now, he is, cocky, ambitious, smart, inventive, loyal, wary. He's gay, but that's besides the point. His ideals are he sort of wants to be the top dog of his league to gain power, but he also values the pursuit of knowledge wherever it may be found. Bonds, he doesn't really have any bonds anymore other than other members of the Izzet guild. So he's a high-ranking member, so he has bonds with plenty of members there, and most of them should know him. So flaws, these are just flaws that I think might be able to be role-played by you guys. But if you can find another flaw that I didn't list here, go ahead and exploit that one in your role-playing as well. But the ones I noticed are he might be overly confident, overly ambitious. His loyalty to his guild may lead him down a flawed path. Maybe in the seeking of vengeance against his attacker, he takes a wrong step and ends up towards on the evil side of things, not on the good side of things. But yeah, so that would be his flaws. And together, those flaws and this stat block should help you closely mimic Ral Zarek. The only thing that you might want to change that I might say would be a good idea is to swap strength and constitution. However, I think strength needs to be higher than constitution because really in the lore of Magic the Gathering, Ral Zarek has never showed any, ability to really take a hit other than when he got his nose broken in chapter 3 of the book. Oh, the book is a free download, which I will link in my description, by the way. But anyways, he has showed a lot of strength, obviously, as when he has to carry his accumulator on his back. That takes a ton of strength, I would assume. I can't imagine that thing's light. So now let's go ahead and get into the proficiencies as well as everything else that actually makes a character build in Dungeons & Dragons. So because he's a wizard, he has proficiency in intelligence and wisdom saving throws, and he also gets to choose 2 skill proficiencies, which I chose as Arcana and Investigation, because as intelligence is the highest skill, those will not only give you the best options as far as actually fulfilling those skill checks, but also, Arcana, because we're going to get into a reason why we have that later, but it will help you, uncover magic items or any sense general magic, because he is smart, and Investigation, he should be able to find stuff, using his intellect. And then for being a guild artisan background, we also got proficiency in insight and persuasion. So insight is kind of useless because we already have investigation, but persuasion, he's a very persuasive dude. He's pretty charming, so that's why also charisma is our third highest stat, to not only help with that persuasion skill, but also because it helps emulate that Ral Zarek is a pretty charismatic, charming dude. So other proficiencies in languages we can see in the bottom right. We have Common, Draconian, Goblin, and then we have tool proficiencies with smithing tools, and then weapon proficiencies with daggers, darts, slings, quarterstaffs. That should say light crossbows. I've typed it like 4 times and it keeps cutting out for some reason. But that should say light crossbows. So that really, the main ones are daggers, darts, slings, and quarterstaffs, because those are what he used to help himself hunt when he was traveling alone without his father on his way to the big bustling city of name that you can choose. So starting equipment, because we are a wizard, we get a quarterstaff or a dagger, and I decided to go with a dagger because we have higher dex than we do strength anyways. An arcane focus of your choice, a scholar's pack, and a spell book. So those are our starting equipment, and that'll help us when we get into the next thing, which is class features. So the class features we have, I'm going to go ahead and list the level improvements first. So at 4th level, you want to take a feat if you can, if your DM lets you, and take Elemental Adept. If not, obviously do an ability score and get Intelligence to 20 as quickly as possible, then move on to Dex as quickly as possible, then Charisma, and then follow the stat block order. But if not, then at 4th level you want the Elemental Adept feat, and you're going to want it in Lightning. Lightning is going to be your main damage magic for this evocation wizard. At 8th level you're going to want Spell Sniper. It'll help you hit your spells more. And then at 12th, 16th, and 19th level, you're going to want to follow my same ability score protocol from last time, which is get Intelligence to 20 as fast as possible, then Dex, Charisma, Strength, Constitution, and then Wisdom. If you are feeling like you're taking a lot of damage, because I know having the second lowest stat, Constitution, might not be the most combat viable, so you might want to go ahead and put Constitution stats in your ability score relatively early. So also, never mind, I'll get to that later. So the next class feature that you get is Arcane Recovery, which you can find the detailed description of that in the book. That's just a wizard trait. So you also get Spell Mastery for being a wizard. So for Spell Mastery, at 1st level, we're going to want Chromatic Orb as your 1st level mastered spell. And then for Chromatic Orb, you're pretty much always going to want to choose Lightning because it's your elemental specialty. And then at 2nd level, so for 2nd level spells for the wizard, I would actually recommend not grabbing that many because there aren't really many that are good as far as role-playing Ral Zarek goes. So you can pick whatever choice you want to, but when it comes to the actual adding spells into your spellbook part of the wizard class, when you level up you get to add 2 of any spell level that you can cast. I wouldn't actually recommend picking many 2nd level spells, so go with like 1st level spells, and then once you reach 4th level and you get access to your 3rd level spells, then you can go ahead and add in 3rd level spells instead of 2nd level spells. So signature spells, we have 2 3rd level spells. We have Lightning Bolt and Protection from Energy. So this will help us roleplay because, you know, lightning, Ral Zarek likes lightning. And he's also pretty adept at making shields, at least shields of energy. But protecting himself from any other people's lightning and instead using that to channel it against them also seems pretty nice and would help us roleplay him as a character. So now the next things we have for our Arcane Tradition, we have Evocation. So for this Arcane Tradition, we get Evocation Savant, Sculpt Spells, Potent Cantrip, Empowered Evocation, and Overchannel. So those features essentially are just the Evocation Wizard features, and that just means we can channel elemental damage without hurting our teammates, which is good. Don't hurt your teammates. So for the guild membership, we have the Izzet League. So that's just a feature of being a guild artisan. So I didn't fill out this page really at all, but the only important thing is at the top anyway, so I'll just center that. So the character's name is Ral Zarek, obviously. He's in his mid to late 20s by the time you guys take over him from me. His height is 5 foot 9 inches, or about 1.75 meters. His weight is 140 pounds, or 63.5 kilograms. His eyes are blue, he has light skin, and his hair is black with white streaks. You should have already seen a picture of him when I was doing the background if I did my editing correctly anyways. So spellcasting class, we're a wizard, yay. So spellcasting ability for wizards is intelligence. And then as far as actually picking spells for you guys, I want to give you as much choice as possible, so I actually only picked your cantrips, the first 2 spells that you should choose when you pick the class, as well as your first 2nd level spell. So for our first level spells, we're gonna want, for our cantrips at first level, we're gonna want Shocking Hands, or Shocking Grasp. I don't know why I wrote Shocking Hands. So that's just the only lightning damage cantrip. Then you're gonna want Mage Hand, so it'll help you with role playing. And then you're also gonna want Shape Water, which will help you from role playing because in Magic the Gathering, he can actually just shape rain around him. So Shape Water should help with that. It is not in the player's handbook, however, it is in Elemental Evil Player's Companion, which is free for download from the Wizards of the Coast D&D website. At 4th, I don't know why that says forward, at 4th level, you're going to want to pick your 4th cantrip, which is Mending. And then at 10th level, you can pick your 5th cantrip, which will be Blade Ward. So Mending is just really nice to have to fix your gear, and then Blade Ward is because he is personally actually pretty powerful, not in just attacking, but also in shielding in the lore. So spell slots. So first level, you're going to want to start with Chromatic Orb, which again, you're going to want to almost always use Lightning. The only exception is if you're fighting something that is literally immune to lightning. But typically, you're going to want to use Lightning. If you can't use Lightning, then you will use Fire. But besides that, the other first level spell is Shield, which is, again, he's adept at shielding, not just damaging. Plus, it'll help you with that low constitution part of the build. Oops. And then the first 2nd level spell you want is Scorching Ray. So then when you hit 3rd level, it doesn't really matter what spells you choose. However, you know, we do have to keep in mind we have these signature spells to choose from, and we have to have those by the time we actually uncover that signature spell feature in our class. So now let's move on quickly to our 2nd one, which is the variant edition of the build, which, suffice it to say, is extremely similar to the previous one, except if we look at level improvements, this will be the only thing that's different. We will want our level 1 feat to actually be Elemental Adept, and then our 4th level feat to be Spell Sniper, and then we'll go ahead and want to do 4 ability score improvements instead. So that is literally the only difference. Everything else is going to be the exact same. But this time you get to start with Elemental Adept, and you get to start with choosing Lightning as your extra damage. So now if we go to for people who have the Xanathar's Guide to Everything, then you can pick War Magic, which doesn't really change anything except for your Arcane Tradition. So for your Arcane Tradition, you get War Magic, and you get Arcane Deflection, Tactical Wit, Power Surge, Durable Magic, and Deflecting Shroud. So this not only helps with, I think, making the build more combat viable, but also helps more roleplay Ral Zarek, because he definitely is more experienced with shielding and damaging, not just purely throwing out elemental damage, because he really only throws out one element, which is lightning. But again, if you can't use lightning, use fire, because there aren't very many lightning spells in the player's handbook anyways, but there are a lot of fire spells. So this one helps because you get to choose a bunch of shielding things as well as take your your initiative turn earlier, and that's about that. So for people who are not interested in homebrew content at all, then this is where the video ends for you guys. Thank you guys very much for watching. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like and a comment in the comment section down below. And if you want to see more builds like this of mixing characters into Dungeons & Dragons, or mixing characters into not Dungeons & Dragons like Skyrim or Fallout builds, then stay tuned because I'll be doing those as well. But now, for those of you who are interested in homebrew stuff, what I think you could do is, as a guild artisan who is, proficient in smithing tools and also an experienced wizard, you can make Ral's gauntlets that he has in the Magic the Gathering lore, talk to your DM about it, do whatever you can. Maybe you can work spell mastery into your gauntlets to where he can cast a first level spell as a cantrip, or maybe even his make lightning damage spells do more damage, or have Arcane Recovery on them. Do whatever it is that you need to, but essentially his gauntlets in the lore help him channel his lightning powers, even when he himself is not in the middle of a thunderstorm. Which is not an issue in this game, but it will still help you further roleplay him. And at that point, if you and your DM talk about it, and you're like, well, I guess that's gotta be an armor because he's wearing gauntlets, then you're gonna wanna go ahead and pick, instead of 12th level ability score, then you're gonna wanna take the feat lightly armored, which gives you proficiency in light armor, or in medium armor, or in heavy armor, whichever armored you and your DM decide would be fair for the gauntlets. So now that actually marks the full end of this video. So those of you who stuck around for that extra smith your own gauntlets portion, that I think would be really nice and really cool if your DM would let you. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you like the video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, please be sure to subscribe. But for now, thank you guys very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day, and peace.